Welcome to the Heart-Led Business Show, where compassion meets commerce and leaders lead with love. Join your host, Tom Jacobs, as he delves into the insightful conversations with visionary business leaders who defy the status quo, putting humanity first and profit second. From heartfelt strategies to inspiring stories, this podcast is your compass in the world of conscious capitalism. So buckle up and let your heart guide your business journey.
Ladies and gentlemen, gather around and hold on to your hats because today's guest is a real-life superhero. Meet Tim Thomas, a former Special Forces Commando turned wellness wizard. After wrestling with stress and sleepless nights, he discovered the magic of switching off that persistent mental chatter. Not in a secret lab, but right within himself. Now, through the heart-led initiative, Breathwork in Bed, Tim is on a mission to rekindle the flame of humanity in all of us. So join us as we dive into the incredible journey and explore the art of reclaiming energy and the essence right here on the Heart-Led Business Show. Tim, welcome to the show.
Tom, thanks for having me. Thanks for that very generous intro.
I think we're going to have a really interesting conversation today because love breathwork in our community. But I think there's a disconnect between doing breath work as a business as well. So bringing that all together. So I'm really excited to share your expertise with the audience. But first, I always like to ask, what's your definition of a heart-led business?
For me, Tom, a heart-led business is when the thing you sell is connected to something you genuinely care about, healing in the world. So there's something in you that you see in the world. It doesn't mean you don't charge properly. It doesn't mean you become a martyr. It just means that the business has a pulse and there's a human being on the other side of the transaction, not just a customer, subscriber, client, or a lead. For me, it's another version of me.
So how do you balance then? And we're diving right into the business side, but actually, before we do that, why don't you tell us a little bit about your business and how you started it as well? Because I think that's a fascinating journey.
Sure. Well, Breathwork in Bed is the business. And when I was going through my own healing journey, I discovered that not all healers are born equal. And I'm talking about doctors, psychologists, psychiatrists, shamans. And I thought, if I ever get into a position where I can help someone else, it has to pass these 3 Ps, okay? I call it my P test for jokes. It's got to be powerful and it's got to be positive. But the 3rd P is most important. The 3rd P determines whether it's a heart-led business or not. 3rd P is permanency. Because if we say we care about people, we can't just care about them when we're in the room taking their dollars. We got to care about them the next week, the next year, the next decade. And I thought if I ever get into a position, I want to be powerful, positive, and permanent. And so breath work was discovered when I was going through the war zone of Afghanistan. It helped me sleep then, right? I didn't know what it was, but it was helping me sleep. I'd go to bed with 2 cents and I'd wake up with $2. And then it got me through the war zone of my own divorce. And I started to see just how A, powerful, B, accessible this thing is. And I do believe if you come across something that actually works, and I'm talking actually works, because there's so many things that people think should work, but don't. And honestly, it's a very dangerous statement to say, I want to help people. If underneath that statement, there's an idea in your head that says, I think this will work. And then you push it into the world. And the problem with your heart is it's super powerful and it can have you going when everything else says stop. Yeah. So I always took data points whenever I did a program. And the metric of success, a very measurable metric, was how much sleep improved. And we noticed if we improved sleep, everything else improved. And so I'm like, well, why don't I make it all about sleep? What's the easiest way to get people to sleep? Breath, right? Yeah. Everyone's got a set of lungs. And so I started running these programs. I ran one on an army base and I got an email the next day from a Louis Colonel saying, my soldiers got the first good night's sleep in 3 years, 4 years, up to 5 years.
Wow.
And I'm like, well, why didn't you get me out there 5 years ago? How easy was that?
Right.
what he said next had me withdraw from public life for 2 years because I realized I was failing my own P test. He said it was good when you're there. What have you got when you're not there? And I'm like, I've failed. I'm not permanent. I'm powerful and positive, but I'm not permanent. And if anyone's asking, how do I become permanent? For me, I got there by realizing I'm just human. My energy is not enough for two people. And I'm quite against that sort of celebrity sell. You've seen me 1,000 times. You trust me, so buy this product.
Right.
Okay. Ultimately, and there's nothing wrong with getting dollars from people, provided there's an exchange. And on my road to permanency, I saw that I'm human, don't have enough energy for two, but what I have is a connection to something super powerful. A bit like a solar panel that lined up to the sun. And it might have taken me 10 years to get that really powerful alignment, but working with someone else, I can get them to have that alignment in far less time. I'm not the sun, but I'm the one lining you up to it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the mechanism, and then they have to fulfill the actual work that they do.
Yeah. And so I thought, I've got to make what I provide as easily accessible as all the crap that's out there.
Yeah.
So the problem is crap is out there, but it's super fast. I'm hungry, I'll have fast food.
Right.
So I thought I've got to deliver this at the speed at which, or the convenience at which all the bad stuff's available. And I thought, well, how do I create the Uber Eats of breathwork? How do I just press a button and it just gets delivered past their door? And I'm like, let's deliver it into their bed, Breathwork in Bed. And so I made the app with the end user in mind that would fulfill on powerful and positive stuff that has permanent access. So with Breathwork in Bed, you just tell it when you want to sleep, when you want to wake up, and then we take care of the rest. It just falls out of your phone like Uber Eats. You sort of tap it, go on to sleep. Because honestly, you can listen to this podcast and go, yeah, breathing's good. And you might do a bit of breathing, but it's the stuff we do regularly that makes the biggest difference. And I can't do what you do, Tom, but if I can help regularly improve your sleep, then you're bringing your gifts into the world even better. I hope I didn't do too much of a loop to get to the point of what I'm trying to say here.
No, that totally makes sense. And it exponentially, your reach gets even bigger because you're working through your clients and helping them be more productive and better at what they do. And if they're healers as well, like you're just going to heal a lot more people. So that's a beautiful mission. How did you transition though from kind of military life into having your own business? And what was that transition like for you?
Good question. I shouldn't say it's wrong because I do think good things can come out of bad experiences. So are those bad experiences bad if good things came from them, right? But I will say this. When I went through my own healing journey and I figured out how to make myself better, and then I shared it with my small circle and it seemed to work, and the more people I shared it with, the more it worked with, I'm like, wow, I want to help others. Dangerous statement.
Right.
And it was working. I was doing good things, but because the heart is so strong, it writes the check for $1,000, even if you've only got 10 in the account. I was doing generosity wrong, right?
Yeah.
I was giving of myself. I wasn't giving of my abundance. And I'll just break this down what that looks like. So if I'm just adequate, if I'm just at 100%, right? And there's someone I want to help, benefit, I give them 10%. There was a part of me that was saying, I've given you 10%. I'm down to 90%. You better do something with that. And I'd have an attachment. In my mind, there should be some form of exchange, even though it was an act of generosity, right? Even though I was still getting good results. I was achieving lifetime goals within 12 months at that stage. So just so you know, my lifetime goal was to save 40 veteran lives from suicide. Okay. Because that's how many lives we've lost in Australia to bombs and bullets, but we've lost 20, 30, 40 times that amount to suicide. Not a very common fact, but it's something that's in the space. And I thought, I'm going to die happy if I achieve 40 veteran lives. I don't care if it takes the rest of my life. That was achieved within 12 months. And that told me, okay, there's outcomes here that are working. But what I didn't see was that because I was so heart involved in this, I wasn't looking after myself and I would, it would feel good to help others and see all these results, but I would go from 90% to 80% to 70%. And every 6 or 7 weeks on the knocker, I would get drunk for about 3 days.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I would write myself off drunk for 3 days because I was giving of myself. I wasn't giving of my abundance. And so generosity is good. It's powerful. It gives you an incredible biohack, but it can be done wrong. So I was doing it wrong. That was not sustainable, right? Even though I was getting the results, it was like I was not embodying the thing I was wanting for other people.
It was like you're being squeezed out of, because of what you're giving. It was taking so much out of you. And then your recharge sounds like a nice 3-day bender, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And
wow.
I'm a pretty tough dude, and I know how to breathe and recover, but there was a part of me that I was ignoring. So these days, what I say is I don't give of myself anymore. I give of my abundance. So what I work off and what I encourage people to do is understand clothes do not maketh the man. Mornings maketh the man. You show me a man's morning routine, I'll show you the man. And so my morning routine is there to invest in me, put me at 500%. And each day I can give away 20% and have no attachment. People can love it, hate it, doesn't matter. I'm attached to something so much more powerful. And what does that look like in real life? Consider your energies like money. How you invest it's how you get it back. You have a unique energy signature. You have a thing that you invest into. It might cost you $2, but you'll get $2,000 back. It could be yoga. It could be boxing. It could be breathing. It could be whatever that is. My goal for all my clients is to be energetic millionaires, because life occurs very differently walking down the street with $1 million than if you've only got 2 cents. Because when I've been that guy with only 20 cents, I've been guarded, scanning for threat. Who's going to take what I have? And if someone takes 10 cents, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's a massive withdrawal. I'm going to revenge that stuff. And I've spent years trying to get it back, completely forgetting I could be a millionaire the next day.
Right.
So this is where, unforgiveness is just you drinking poison, thinking you're going to hurt someone else. Yeah. And I'm just sharing here the way I did generosity wrong to now the idea of being an energetic millionaire and having that abundance to invest in whatever you want, but also in people. People are a very volatile stock to invest into. And the advantage I had working in the veteran space, these guys were extra volatile. Like if there was something that didn't work, they would tell you to politely hit the highway in no uncertain terms. So it was in that space and also going through my own sort of war zones in my head that I discovered something that just kept working. And then I thought, okay, I've got something that works. How do I create permanent access? And how do I do it as easy as everyone else is doing it? And as much as I don't like phones, everyone's got one and everyone's got a set of lungs. And I'd like to think the high-tech part of what I do isn't Breathwork in Bed. That's just an app on your phone. What it gets you in touch with is this high-tech part of your own body, this medicine cabinet that's underneath our lungs.
Yeah, that everybody has, and it's automatic for the most part. So I'm sure a lot of people are like, breath work, that's interesting. Like, how can you make a business out of something that people do naturally? But obviously we don't do it the right way or in a therapeutic way to then help us with recovery and sleep and all that. But, going back to that inception moment where you had the idea to have a business, what was that transition like into actually starting the business?
Honestly, I didn't know what to do. I just knew it had to be done. I couldn't be the one bearing all the weight. I needed other people in there because I noticed if you care deeply about something, you can accidentally make yourself the least important thing in the business. You give away too much, you undercharge, you overserve. You like I said, I called it generosity, but it was just fear, guilt, and maybe some old identity. And I had to learn that charging people the right amount is not a portrayal of the mission you're on. It's the thing that keeps the mission alive. The only way to have a future in business is have a financial future. And I needed people to have eyes on that. So I was fortunate enough to have a guy that was quite good at business. He'd known me for some time. And he just said this throwaway line. I'm like, what did you say? He says, no, I haven't slept. I'm like, how long have you not slept for? And he said, oh, it's insomnia, Tim. It's over 30 years. I'm like, his name's Chris. I said, Chris, how long have you known me? You know what I do. And I said, look, okay, Chris, I prescribed him some breath work.
Yeah.
I said, and he says, oh, he said, I'm not sure my wife will like that doing it in bed. I said, do this on your couch and then go to bed. And so he took that on. I said, look, I'm going to check back in 8 days. And this guy hadn't slept in over 30 years and he thought it was normal. 8 days later, he checks in and he says, Tim, the only time I didn't sleep all the way through was when the dog was barking.
Wow.
And that was a natural thing he did with an immediate, powerful impact. And if that guy was like me and went to a doctor and said, hey, I can't sleep, the amount of pharmaceuticals that they throw at you is incredible, right? And this guy, it was an immediate that night. And so I was a bit frustrated. Someone, Chris, why didn't you approach me about this earlier? But he just, like a lot of people, like our culture, we tend to think poor sleep is just accepted. I almost think it's designed that way because as long as we're in a state of fatigue, our higher thinking doesn't kick in. Mm-hmm. We have all these resources in our head. We've got like a 1,000-person workforce, but when we're fatigued, it goes down to 1, and it's called the amygdala. Inside our brain, when I'm working with veterans and they're in fight or flight, their amygdala is triggered. Now, amygdala, you don't have to be a veteran to trigger it, but if you're always scanning for threats and you can't sleep at night because you've got thoughts rattling around in your head, that's your amygdala firing. That's a thing that searches for threat. And it will see threat even if there's no threat there. It's like it's trying to justify itself.
Yeah.
And you cannot outthink this thing because it's your thoughts.
Right.
But what you can do is outrank it. You can outrank it with your breathing. Mm. And this is where, when I was prescribed pills to shut down my amygdala, the pills worked, but my amygdala treated it as a threat and it almost became stronger. And so I had to take more and more pills to overcome this amygdala. But when I breathed, what happened inside my brain, you go into your prefrontal cortex, which is like 1,000 people working again. Life is easier because you got all of you online. And so this is where people are always trying to do more, like it's going to solve a problem. There's a problem, I've got to do more. My advice is do less, find out if you're in your amygdala, find out if you're spending more energy scanning for threats, and bring your prefrontal cortex online. And you can do that with simple breathing and banking good night's sleep each night. And I know that sounds like understating it, but this is where you have to understand this information you usually only hear when authentic conversations take place. Because if you know this, all that they're trying to sell you becomes redundant real quick.
Yep.
So if you're listening right now, and I really hope you are, don't go through life not knowing what your own body can do for you, because a lot of money gets made from the ignorance of our own bodies.
So interesting that we do have that power within us to heal, and our bodies are very amazing. Yet traditional medicine is, let's just put a Band-Aid on it and then see if that works. Right?
And bless them, they're trying to do the right thing, but they're trying to deal with a problem that's way downstream from an upstream problem.
Yep.
And people can lose years trying to put out these fires downstream of something that's way up it. And if you can get up there and you can access that, then you're in the top percentile of people. And if you can do it in a way that's natural and immediate, then great. But I got sidetracked there, but Chris ended up becoming my business partner.
That's amazing.
So he can shoulder the framing, the planning, the paperwork. And on a personal note, Chris is now training to be the world's fastest 60-year-old triathlete.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So, going back to Chris on as a partner in the business, how did that free you up or create the business, a solid business? Instead of just trying to do it yourself, like all the Instagram influencers tell you, oh, you can just do it yourself, grind through it and do it. How did bringing on a partner change that for you?
It helped me relax. It helped me stick to what I'm strong to, but also learn what I needed to in the areas I wasn't familiar with. Because what I found is there's so many people out there willing to exploit your ignorance.
Mm-hmm.
So many. And without giving them a bad rap, marketers, most of them are only good at marketing themselves. They know how to promise the world. If you challenge them on, okay, let's see some sales as a report of all your views, they'll run the other direction or give you some flowery answer. So I've learnt the hard way, if you're going to give away a job, learn how to do it a little bit yourself.
Yep. Even
if it's just a little bit, because there's something that goes off behind the other person's head. Oh, this person knows nothing. Advantage mine. And they might be nice people, but there's something that goes off in their head when they see that you have no idea about what they're doing. The same goes when it comes to parts of your business, that if you're going to outsource, work off a small idea of it yourself. You don't have to learn all of it. Learn enough to let that other person know it. And you know what? ChatGPT is really good for that.
Yeah.
You know, I can have him in my corner and ask the right questions. Okay, my tech people ask me this question. What should I be looking at? And then that email back goes, hey, have you checked the flux capacitor? And they're like, oh, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about. So I'm just saying partners are good, but be careful not to divide up your power, and you can end up paying a lot of money and not getting a lot of return with the wrong ones.
Yeah. I call that trust and verify. So trust that the people that you bring into the business, whether they be partners or vendors or employees, you trust that they're going to do the right thing, but you're going to verify that it actually did happen.
And, you know, Tom, on a personal note, if you look at the personality archetypes, king, warrior, magician, lover, I'm natural sort of warrior energy, and my discipline, working under pressure, proving, pushing, surviving, that really helped me get things moving. But a heart-led business, I've had to go to the other side of my personality in the way that getting things done, moving forward, discipline under pressure, that's good from going to A to B. But if you don't engage in a deeper heartfelt connection, if you don't engage on the lover side of things, and lovers are all about connection. Oh, they could spend all day in a hug, right? Now, I don't need to spend all day in a hug, but what I need to take from that is the maturity of being with people and not just charging forward to get from A to B, because as soon as you get to B, another B
then what?
will occur, you know?
Yeah.
And I mentioned this earlier, to actually embody what you're trying to communicate, because words only go so far, right? I believe if someone looked at Tom, they couldn't see everything that Tom is. There's a lot of Tom that most people don't see. It's invisible, but it shows up in your actions and your movements and all that sort of stuff, the conversations you have. And so this is where people say 90% of communication is nonverbal.
Right.
If you want to be effective in your heart-led business, you need to have it in your nervous system in a balanced way that has a bottom line, a success that is measured in a couple of different ways. And understand that when you're genuinely embodying your authentic self, there's a certain authority there as well. You know, and you don't have to work harder. It just is. And people pick up on that. And in fact, it's very rare. It's very rare, you know, but the mistake I made is, I feel like there's friends here and you don't charge your friends money. You know, it's like when the heart comes on, the dollars, well, dollars aren't important. Let's go to another form of emotional currency, right? You do need to just embody your message, but also have a clean line between, hey, everyone's friends here, to, you know, everyone wants me around tomorrow. Do you want me around tomorrow? You know, I've usually found that also, there's a really good saying, keep people paying until they pay attention. because they don't pay attention if it's cheap
That's
or
right.
free. You know,
Yeah.
you can let them try it for free, but there comes a time when they can go, well, this is actually worth something to me. You get essentially, if you get something for nothing, you treat it like it's nothing.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've always when I first started my fitness business, I gave lots away for free. And the results were the same. Like if somebody was doing something for free, they weren't fully invested, and so they weren't getting the results. And then they're like, "Well, this sucks. I don't want to do this anymore." And they weren't even paying for it. So it's a catch-22 sometimes. But I think, especially for heart-led business owners, having that balance between giving away, but also taking care of ourselves. Because I think you said early on, you were giving out so much of yourself that your self-care was 3 days with a bottle, which is not always a great thing to do.
Well, the thing is, we are so strong. Our physical bodies can take so much abuse
Yeah.
that we can have dumb stuff in our head and still make stuff work. And this is what I believe aging scares people. It's not the years that roll on. It's our dumb getting to critical mass and we can't ignore it anymore.
Right. So true. As I get older, that's kind of my attitude is like, yeah, that's fine if you have that belief. Cool. Awesome. Well, Tim, how do people get a hold of you or learn more about Breathwork in Bed?
Sure. Well, all professional engagements, I encourage them to go through LinkedIn, Tim Thomas, Breathwork in Bed. If you just want a really good night's sleep tonight, pick up your phone, put in 3 words, Breathwork in Bed. And I mentioned I don't give away things for free, but the first 28 days of that is free. So you can try it. And after that, it's like a cup of coffee a month. So that's for people that want a better night's sleep tonight. And Tom, on the idea of permanency here, I want people to not just hear a great conversation. I want them to have something they can permanently access for the rest of their lives. I'd love to show a really quick breathwork thing that can help people bring them back to center, if that's okay. Do we have time for that?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. This is really, really simple, but everything's an invitation, especially when it comes to your body. And this is where everyone breathes, but not everyone's doing breath work. And when we breathe differently, often it occurs differently. So I always ask for permission and invitation before we get started. So Tom, I'm going to ask you 3 very easy questions before we do this very simple breathwork thing. And if you're listening at home, you can say yes or no, but it's as easy as saying, Tom, do you give permission to your very own breath to make every single cell in your body feel really, really good?
Yes.
Awesome. That was easy. Tom, do you give permission to your very own breath to make your conscious thinking mind feel really, really good?
Yes.
Perfect. Last one. Tom, do you give permission to your very own breath to make your unconscious mind feel really, really good?
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay. Now we're ready. We enjoy our breath to the level we let it in. And people like us, we're out to doing things in the world. Sometimes it's hard to let things in. So that's why I always give permission. If you can say those 3 things to yourself before you do this breathwork technique, you are going to be able to let this power in the fullest sense. Okay. And you're going to get a feel right now of just how immediate the impact of breathwork is. So all we're going to get you to do, Tom, and people listening at home, just do this in a safe place. Don't do this driving or cutting up carrots. I'm going to get you to do is breathe in, but then breathe in more. Now hold it and just wriggle your shoulders. Hold it and wriggle your shoulders. Wriggle it. Wriggle the shoulders. Open it up. And if you're brave, I want a really loud sigh. Out.
All right.
Now just breathe through your nose and let that energy circulate. And just check in with your body. That I didn't do that for you. You did that for you. Your own breath did that for you. This power was sitting underneath your rib cage. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now that was just one breath. Now you might have noticed when you breathed in more, your top third filled up. Okay. Now we didn't just get more energy then because of more breath. We got more energy because we're effectively an electrical circuit. Your brain's the electrical generator, and it has all these cables running through your system.
Yeah.
And these cables aren't solid. They're squishy like your garden hose. And if you've ever stepped on your garden hose, there's less water going through. So watch what happens if I've got the weight of the world on my shoulders. I'm hunching forward. What am I compressing? I'm compressing my top third. And effectively, my structure is stepping on my own power cables.
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when I work with the British Special Forces, they found that between every degree your structure was out, you lost between 8 and 12% strength.
Wow.
So consider that one breath that brings you in alignment could make you 8 to 12% stronger. This isn't woo-woo. This stuff works.
Yeah.
Tom, just hold up 2 fingers like that. Okay. And I want you to put your thumb out. And I want you to pinch them together really tightly. Okay. Now feel that you're pinching really tightly. That is going to be your power button. Okay. So right now, when we breathe in, halfway through the inhale, I want you to pinch and look up a little bit. Okay. And that is going to boost your top third. So I invite you to have your power buttons ready. We'll call them power buttons. Blow it out. Start breathing in. Hit the power buttons and look up. Now wriggle, wriggle, wriggle. Wriggle it, wriggle it. Wriggle up any tension. Wriggle, wriggle, wriggle. Wriggle, wriggle, wriggle. And release that with a really loud sigh. Out, 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 out.
Wow. I feel like I got a lot of excess air out or stale air out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tom, to back up what you're saying, if you want to perform in the top 3%, you've got to breathe into the top 3% and then breathe out to the top 3%.
Yeah.
You got that? So the takeaway from today is breathing into the top 3% and breathing out to the top 3%. And you can use those power buttons to do that. And so what does that look in real life? So when I set up my sovereign zone in the morning, when I become an energetic millionaire, when I have my morning routine squared, I know that the energy I need to perform, I know the zone I'm supposed to be in. Whenever I start getting out of that, whenever I start acting immature, let's say I'm in a line and I'm pissed off because it's taking so long. There's an old lady talking too long, right?
Yeah, right.
What I'll discreetly do, instead of going, blah, this is wrong, I need to make it right, I will pinch my fingers discreetly, wriggle my shoulders, and then let it out through my nose.
Yeah.
And then that brings me back into the zone I want to be in. You got that? So just treat them, your buttons, as you're recentering. Oh, okay, I'm getting pissed off. And then you access that top third, you plug back into yourself, you're not giving it away.
Yeah.
So I really thank you for allowing a little bit of extra time at the end so people can get permanent access. I feel that I'm fulfilling on my P test when we can have people who listen to this have a practical tool that they can use immediately and for the rest of their life.
Yeah. Well, I think what's a really great lesson there in relating it to business, because I like to do that every once in a while, is that, we go through, we breathe in that middle part, and we go through life in that middle part. It's in those extra places that we go that the magic really happens. And you just prove that with our breath. So thank you for that. It was amazing. I feel great now too. So.
And that was like, what, 2 breaths?
Yeah. It was
I know, and I'll just hint at this. Imagine if you spent 5 minutes doing that.
Yeah.
When people work with me one-on-one for an hour, we can go places that words cannot describe.
I can only imagine an hour of that. Yeah, I can see that. Incredible. Well, Tim, thank you so much for being on the show today and sharing your journey, your expertise, and sharing that exercise as well. I really appreciate that and appreciate you taking your time.
My pleasure, Tom.
Awesome. And thank you, show fans, for tuning in today, wherever you might be tuning in from. We really do appreciate it. So make sure you're checking out everything that Tim is doing. We're going to put links down into the show notes so that you can click there, find the app, get that breath in, make sure that you're getting a really good night's sleep. And do that today, because I want you to have a really good day tomorrow with really good sleep. So until next time, lead with your heart.
You've been listening to the Heart-Led Business Show, hosted by Tom Jacobs. Join us next time for another inspiring journey into the heart of business.